Okay, Chuck Wilson, Connecting the Dots. Welcome back. It's great to have you. So today we're going to talk about persecution. Persecution, another cheerful topic, but we got to face it because in Matthew 24:9, Jesus says this very thing. He's talking about the birth pains and the contractions, and we know that they increase in intensity, and that's what we're going to see here with persecution because Jesus says this, verse 9, then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. All nations. That includes the good old USA. A lot of Christians I know, oh, no, it will never happen here. It's already being set up. Study Nazi Germany in the 30s. It's here. It's happening. Every country, there's going to be increased persecution and martyrdom is going to happen. So this is what we have to be prepared for. We've already seen it worldwide with communism. Every single country that is communist persecutes Christians. Unbelievable. And then the USA is headed toward communism. It's not hard to see. And also the Muslim countries have taken the baton, passed the torch to take the lead in this. Worldwide, the persecution, any majority Muslim nation persecutes Christians and Jews, and there's a lot of martyrdom that goes with that all over the world. Pay attention, read Voice of the Martyrs, those kind of publications to get the truth on that. And now it's coming to the West. The persecution is coming to the West. In fact, Catholic Vote had an article recently in the Catholic Herald, one of my favorite publications, Catholic Vote, Brian Birch. I read it every day. One of the first things I read every day after the Babylon Bee. I read Catholic Vote, and they had a title here, Christianophobia is a reality and is expanding worldwide. And here we go. There's a growing phenomena of Christianophobia, and it's manifesting on a global scale. It talked about the persecution of Christians worldwide, including 1,000 attacks against Catholics in France. The country's most persecuted religious group is Christians. There has been a growing number of attacks against Jews also since the Hamas attack on Israel. Muslims and their houses of worship are the least likely religious group to be attacked in France. That's right. Christians and Jews are the ones being attacked in France. It says the United States has also experienced growing violence against Christians, with 436 attacks occurring in 2023. The article concludes, Islamophobia may make headlines in the Western mainstream media, but it's Christianophobia that's on the rise. And that is the truth. Even here in the United States, you can see it coming. If you study history, once again, Nazi Germany, the 1930s, what happened, how it paved the way for the Jews and the true Christians, not the apostate Christians, the true Christians to be attacked. We're seeing this happening. Here's just one example. Vice President Harris bashes pro-life Americans as out of their minds in a push for abortion. This happened in the DNC convention, wherein she was accepting her nomination to try to become the president of the United States. God forbid. She promised to make promised to use the federal government to expand abortion nationwide because Americans can't be prosperous without abortion. God would contradict that. God's word does contradict that. It's just the opposite. And pro-life Americans are out of their minds, said Harris while accepting the nomination. Can you imagine if she said that? Well, first of all, pro-life Americans, who exactly are they? That's us. Those are true Christians, true Catholics, true evangelicals, not the woke, broke ones, but true Christians. True Christians. She's talking directly to us and saying we are out of our minds. Could you imagine if she said that about the Muslims because of headscarves or something, or for any reason? By the way, Muslims are pro-life, and we actually have more in common with them than we do with the Democrats these days. Because, well, listen, it's not about politics. It's just about spiritual darkness, all right? And I know the Republicans are not far behind, but what we're seeing happen is just unbelievable in our country. The complete wickedness that is rising up in the name of choice or in the name of democracy. Unbelievable. But anyway, she said when Congress passes a bill to restore, let's see, Oh, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into the law, she vowed. God forbid. And as she makes these remarks, the official DNC video feed of the acceptance speech panned out into the crowd and focused on a baby in the crowd. Oh, hunted. You can't make this stuff up, right? Although Harris did not name a specific bill, the Biden-Harris administration has endorsed the so-called Women's Health Protection Act, which goes far beyond Roe versus Wade 1973, that ruling by striking down more than 1,300 state pro-life protections, including laws, and then they go into. Can you imagine if she becomes president, then her goal is to strike down all pro-life laws. Babies will be on the hit list from to the even probably till after they're born. They're talking about born alive, and getting rid of those protections. A baby is not safe for 9 months in that womb, and then even outside the womb, they're talking about crazy stuff. So this is what will happen. It's demonic. But can you imagine if they attacked any other religion? But she knows she's attacking evangelical Christians, true evangelical Christians. She knows she's attacking the true Christian Catholics out there. She knows exactly what she's saying, and we know what she's saying. And it's crazy what we've seen happen in our country. Here's another one that you have to look underneath the headlines. Zuckerberg said Meta censored posts in 2020 and 2021 after communications from the FBI and the Biden-Harris administration. Finally coming out. I told everybody, said, you're crazy, Pastor Chuck. And businesses have the right to, allow what content they want. I go, they're not the ones. I knew who was doing it. And get this, Meta CEO, that's Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, admitted this week that his company censored election-related posts in the lead up to the 2020 election and in 2021 after communications from the FBI and later the Biden-Harris administration. Zuckerberg expressed his regret about the censorship because he's being investigated by Congress now, and also denounced the pressure from Biden-Harris administration imposed on the company at the time. Now, listen to this. He admitted that before the election in November, Meta temporarily demoted a story from the New York Post about the corruption in President Joe Biden's family while waiting for fact checkers to respond about the story, which they couldn't figure it out until after the election, right? It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story, he wrote, noting that changes have since been made to prevent similarly wrong actions in the future. Wow. I'm relieved to hear that. Zuckerberg, now this is heading somewhere. It's not just about politics. Zuckerberg's letter also addressed Meta's censoring of certain posts about COVID-19. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams that we didn't agree, but they still caved in, and they kept the truth from coming out. Do you know how many lives would have been saved if people were using ivermectin? Do you know how many people died purposely because they wanted pharmaceutical people to get the money and they got the kickbacks? Listen, I'll do a whole talk on that sometime. It's brutal what they did. He said, like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction. Yeah, right. And we're ready to push back if something like this happens again, especially if it comes from the other direction. Listen, all this is setting up for censorship is a lot bigger than the election or COVID. What they didn't address is the spiritual. I had sermons knocked off of Facebook. I had posts that were completely factual relating to abortion that were factual 100% and knocked off of Facebook because they and other sites too, which I can't name right now, but you can figure it out and connect the dots, and knocked off. And they were all true. What I preached was 100% true biblically and factual what is going on now. But they knocked them off. And I'm not the only one. They also put these parameters, and I was getting lots of views, and all of a sudden nobody was getting my feed. Once we had posted, it wouldn't go to anybody, only a couple people, because they boxed it in. They boxed it in. That's what they do with the truth. Get ready for Nazi Germany 2.0, because Matthew 24:9 says it is coming. It is coming. But listen, don't get discouraged. Don't give up, because Jesus says, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. It's coming. The persecution is coming, but Jesus challenges us. He who stands firm to the end will be saved. We must be ready, and we must stand firm, looking for Jesus Christ. See you next time.